foreigners are talk government bonds and bills. Why an analysis? We won't say no. A bimu time be do ama we which be next year and next 2 years. Only sa sikana obey then which make your interest no any principal na be due in the next few years. So arrangement is say okay, one maybe exchange or debt na overseas be mature in the short term no may extend the maturity date no akọ enim so that e bia o dey be mature next year, next 2023 2024, but because me ni sika by the time na estimate sa principal no ntine media my extend the maturity date into over exchanging a debt with a longer maturity date with a debt with a shorter maturity date and one that will not have any interest over to your amount in the first year of 0%, the next year also over to your 5%, and the third year with your 10% up to maturity. It's in simple terms, the debt exchange program which I say a buying a extended maturity. No, a new bond ever replace the existing one now ever mature in 1 year or 2 years, but or the extended aircraft up to 2037.
Okay, so the our person trying to say me make 1,000 cities. Let me the quarter treasure bill. Next year, me nya ehun faso bia, but 2024 me nya 5%. Now 2025 me nya 10%
up to maturity.
Up to maturity.
Maturity near time now. How many years now this kind of eja ama our buying?
Okay.
On you so but. Let me correct something quickly. Treasury bill there, a bank say exempted. Exempted, but there can your bonds.
Bonds, okay.
Bonds, no, even bonds, no. Crowd say those that were bought by individuals, no, are exempted.
Okay.
Those that have been done by institutional investors, it is banks, pension funds, investment bankers, insurance companies. Just come from. Private investors no and they are top where your friend is a government bonds. So say bonds, government bonds no obetma to as an individual.
Okay.
And now obetma go through investment companies or talk government bonds. You say me no tier 2 ni tier 3 your trustees are who manage my
okay
into no I am talk government bonds. So those investment companies or financial players we muna are buying say bonds now a bit due in the short term or extending maturity period and they will not be receiving interest in the first from next year and be graduating from 5% to 20%.
But these banks need money to survive. If a bank is withholding the money now, are we not foresee another collapse of banks?
And not the liquidity challenge in the financial sector no, because these people no, they are banks for example, they are intermediary. They are say deposited funds. Normally, they are investment and your income, and they are running bank no, and your profit. Being so much then loan. And to say, if you look at the financial industry, this is here. Banks need to be bringing this kind of acquire then, and the comma are buying because the private sector is not growing the way economy no is not performing the way it's supposed to perform. Since this can be a farmer, be a private individual, he may not have the capacity to generate enough to be able to pay you your loan back. So banks prefer to put their funds with government of Ghana because we see it as a risk-free investment. What they are saying, but. So if we have placed most of our funds with government of Ghana and CCR, the government is extending the maturity periods now. I just say there will be liquidity challenges in our financial sector. When depositors go to take the money will not be with the banks to be able to give them their money back because the banks and other financial players have placed their money with the Bank of Ghana, the government of Ghana. As the CR government, I extending maturity period now. Time now back. So it has a tendency of bringing financial instability in the financial sector. Because liquidity challenges to the players in the financial sector.
The question a lot of people are asking: how did we get here?
Okay.
Yeah, because we knew, yes, we're facing challenges, but no one expected for us to get to this stage. At the time, our ratings, so as we ran out, it is fair to say, our status is junkiest. Well, how did we get here?
Nukrasem is because we have overborrowed over the period. Yeah, invest sikano critical sectors are ebe the growth beba ama aban enye sika editua sa debt na interest na amortization.
So I say your bobe san the try you
yes, for consumption. Even though share the pattern of government expenditure, we who say we now anchor into infrastructure to say road, hospitals, or just say and then they expand the economy but we share expenditure na be after interest payment and amortization and then compensation as you see casa. So we're spending much on we are running a huge government administration. Well, consuming much of our revenue. A particular example is we spend about 25 billion to clean up the financial sector. So that is a borrowing we need to raise to be able to pay those, clear the financial sector.
We paid that money. We borrowed that money.
We borrowed 25 billion to be able to clear the financial sector. And indicators and reports emanating from independent audits and BOG actually say the total liability outstanding at the time was near 9 billion. So you could have 25 billion. It kind of tell you how reckless we were in terms of our financial management. Are you getting the point?
Sure.
So, and even in electioneering year, you could see the kind of expenditures now. Ukraine as a nation, as a developing nation, I don't believe say your capacity to provide ECG and water to the citizenry, even though it was prudent to do so. But overjoying said, "Oh, sir, and Sikano are with me running, providing free water and free electricity for running 6 months to the Ghanaian people." You get the point. It creates fiscal deficits and data you pile up into the future.
But we are paying back for that free water, no?
Yes.
With the COVID levy.
The question is the fact that we are doing this restructuring. Actually, said those revenues are not coming as expected to be able to pay the huge hole now you are creating. I get to the point. So those were political programs which not immune to the benefit of the Ghanaian people,
but just to political sympathy.
That made us the current government to win power in 2020. So when we went in 2021, they noticed that the deficit of 15.7% was high. So some will introduce some tax revenue measures. We introduce the COVID levy now, but the COVID levy did not also achieve the objective that they said to achieve in 2021. Into 2022, who said no, the situation is very dire, and I must say no. Let's do these two things. The first thing is the e-levy beba. And the second thing is they were hoping continuously, you know, international capital market. So the moment the e-levy failed, the moment that we were blacklisted from the international capital market, you know, economy shuts it down. So that inflation is now moving at 40.4%. Interest rate is hovering over 40%.
With the inflation crap, other people are saying no, it is more than 40%.
That is what, but I will speak as a professional from what the Ghana Statistical Service say. So I will speak to official data that are coming from. So sure. I must say 40.4%. So that is a very high inflation. Even it's a historical inflation figure. 40.4%. And interest rates are running over 40% now. The CD is depreciating, is hitting 15 CD to $1. Those are things that tells you that the economy is not performing. And it's as a result of the massive borrowing we have made over the period, which led to poor credit ratings now as a nation. And then because of what's the name? High international commodity prices na cost no ama your reserve so any why you be support your dollar no and ama you see the depreciation and inflation na enya SCA wo ekrom. But before we go into details I'm explaining be being sure.
Okay,
this is debt restructuring now you can was na debt exchange program now. Okay, it is actually a condition precedent for the IMF program.
It's the IMF na share
they are preliminary discussion now any IMF I to her. Because IMF also achieve three things. The first thing also achieve is also achieve fiscal consolidation. The second one is to achieve macroeconomic stability. And the third one is to check debt sustainability. So these are the three metrics IMF want to be sure of. And when you subscribe to the program, these are the objectives now almost okay to achieve. The first one is fiscal consolidation. The second one is macroeconomic stability. And the third one is debt sustainability.
Okay.
The first one is fiscal consolidation. And then IMF because you are wastage. You were reckless in your expenditure. You were borrowing too much. So some controlling your expenditure. unless someone control your expenditure. You can fiscal consolidation. I say you want you to manage your revenue and expenditure very well.
Okay.
So in the OSHA, I buy in 2023 budget, you know, or the way by or the VAT buy because it is a requirement of the IMF program say over increasing revenue. So only 2.5% VAT buy and on the threshold of 100 CD on the e-levy transactions. And now, benchmark values, you know, on the import duties.
And the 50%.
The 50% benchmark value. The objective full. So the objective is to mobilize more revenue. They also open say more property rate. So it is incumbent say revenue, then you reduce expenditure. What they are saying. So what are they in the fiscal consolidation? And then you see the expenditure patterns of Ghana, OSHA. It is interest and amortization. Finance Minister Nika said interest payment edge about 70% of our tax revenue. In total revenue, edge 50%. So it is important say you reduce interest payments and amortization, and you can only reduce interest payment on amortization by doing what we call a debt restructuring.
Okay.
I say no. I can't mean to me. I revenue too much. It's a massive anchor for development. So how do I do it? Let me speak to my bondholders, both domestic and external. Now my catch almost said no. Baby, I made do you know. Say anyone can see here in the next 3, 4, 5 years, no. Musika kramunya den munya. So what do we do? Let's agree in the short term. Say muma me some relief be. In the first year, muntia interest be on. Even though Ebeka 1 year, 2 years, then me more loan back and mamma they be. Me and fan call 2037. May it be 2029, may it be 2027, may it be 2032, may it be 2037.
So with what government has done now, no, you boka to a chima.
And one I'll bet you in the future. I get to the point. So what government is defer repayment into the future because in the few 2 to 3 years, Onisa and Sikana wait me to debt. So we are looking at about 15 years before this economy will become sustainable in terms of our debt.
15 years.
Yes, because we are in 2022. Or say we economy by 2037. We get 2022 to 2037. How many years is that? That's 15 years. So the debt sustainability program is to achieve debt sustainability at year 2037, which tells you that it's a 15-year span program to bring back the economy back to its position. So are you getting the point? Whilst trying to work towards achieving macroeconomic stability, it's my fiscal consolidation.
Macroeconomic stability.
So let me tap on 1 or 2 things on the fiscal consolidation.
Okay.
Only say another thing to regulate expenditure and also freezing on employment because and then my compensation or cost government also say cut it down on diaries and all discretionary expenditures,
the V8
and all that. So yes, you are supposed to cut expenditure and mobilize revenue. That's why it is part of the IMF program to achieve fiscal consolidation. It's
like IMF and banker said we penny for
the economy will collapse because you see mostly your chair or economists must say you have to blend political interest with economic interest.
Political interest,
and that's why the corridor of power is not as easy. You have to always blend the political side of it with the economy side of it. I get the point. Sure. And that is where if you don't think about the economy more and you think of political interest, you embark on projects are short term, or mine in the long term. I get the point.
Sure.
So that's fiscal consolidation. So let's move to macroeconomic stability. Okay. The IMF program, the overall objective, and they say obey achieving macroeconomic stability. Macroeconomic stability is just say your macroeconomic environment inflation only 40.4%. Interest rate is beyond 40%. It means that the private sector ain't grow because we go for a loan and you're paying 40%
on interest.
How much will you even earn on any investment? That means the investment will end like 80%. Then you pay 40% and use the remaining 40% to run and even gain profit. Which investment tool our Ghana is a return of 80%.
Okay.
So the objective is to bring this dollar about 3 billion to inject 3 billion into the economy so that it show up our reserves. I will build here dollar back home into the member importers now buying over here so that a stability about your dollar nim.
But 3 billion is here straight.
Yeah, straight. It's a 3-year program. I 1 billion. But also, so our government is trying to increase its exports. More foreign exchange about acronym. I get the point. So the objective to macroeconomic stability, the dollar and the bar. Everyman I see the nanya holding kakra. Inti unim say an economy like Ghana, which is a developing nation, we are more import dependent. Here more dollar at the business no. Say dollar ni kroma ema see the need depreciate and ema inflation eba krom. So the moment I benya $3 billion about economy name no. Remember forest supply of dollar be increasing the economy. Okay. Remember stability about the exchange rate. Ama inflation I form. So that is the objective. You come up with economic stability. Remember all these inflation figures, exchange rate, any interest rate never back form. Okay. Yeah. So the last one here, debt sustainability, and so
let me go back to the fiscal consolidation because that is the key thing when it comes to fiscal deficit. We are entering into a year that precedes an election year.
Okay.
2023, 2024 year to
okay.
Can we have an economy that will have a strong that will curtail fiscal deficits, and I said that will encourage a fiscal discipline at the time I right election year, a year preceding the election year.
You mean year 2023 or year 2024?
Year 2023, because 2023 Naban will try to do a lot of things that will make it good if in the eyes of the voters.
Okay. No crasem say Iniska. With your budget now. Government hope say budget never chair say obetuma the old cano. Sisi Iniska. We share your budget now buying a present here. They are expecting somewhere reserve revenue of 143 billion.
Ghana cedis.
143 billion Ghana cedis now. Almost spending about 53 billion on interest and amortization. 44 billion on compensation. About 28 billion on goods and services. Sikanasa. You can only
we will not have any
money.
We will not have any money for projects.
For project. Even the allocated 27 billion for projects, and he even lower than what he allocated last year. Last year, the amount he allocated for capital expenditure, roads, hospitals, and all the infrastructure projects now this year has been a reduction vis-a-vis last year. So the question is, so last year we allocated more money. Did you see the major developmental projects in the economy?
Yes. Okay. So you didn't see the project.
You didn't see the project. So if there's a reduction of an allocation,
what should I going to see the
we receive more. I get in the point. So we don't have money. We don't have capacity to do anything. What we are only doing is sustaining the economy small. Say to make sure your bills kakra. And you have to be prudent. IMF will make sure you are prudent because they are going to check your expenditures. You have to before you subscribe to the project. You a lot of austerities I said will follow before they can give you your money because they will know what took you there. They must make sure that when you are with them, you don't do same. International share government of this nation. The moment we move out from IMF, we become very fiscally indisciplined. Now spending too much. And then I come back to IMF in the next 2-3 years. So IMF, when you are with him, is like a police watching you between that period. You must be fiscally prudent. You don't be wasted. You don't have to be wasted. You don't have to be reckless in terms of the expenditure. And even the budget that the government has presented is very clear. Now, after paying interest, amortization, and compensation, and goods and services, there is nothing for any major development in the nation. Infrastructure, the kind of corruptions, because salary they want to mean interest and loan now, interest on the loan now, which are but where the corruption comes is the goods and services and the capital expenditure. I get in the point. So if we are not doing much on capital expenditure, and particularly allocation area, my capital expenditure has come down vis-a-vis last year. Last year, what major developmental project did we see in the economy? So I don't see anything coming. We don't have money to do the kind of things to do the wastages that we did in the previous electionary year.
Okay, now one major concern about with this domestic debt exchange program here, labor unions, they have warned government not to touch the pension fund. Why are they so worried about it?
Yes, because the pension funds and that will be affected by the debt exchange program. Because Sikana government I can't want MCC. Because as I really explained, the players in the financial sector need a pension, the pension funds, the banks, insurance companies, SEC. They are the major players in the financial sector. So these are the people who buy government bonds. So their pensions will now be locked up with the government of Ghana. And a government, if it will mature in 1 year or 2 years, a buying someone fast scanning mamusisia or the scanning mamu in 2027, 2029, 2032, and 2037. So they have deferred their redemptions. Are you getting the point? Secondly, a buying so sikana media ma wa ban can share me say the next year won't me interest. I will say sikana so. It's better like keeping it, then they shouldn't even make contribution to the into government to the pension fund because they place their monies with government of Ghana. I get it. And government is telling me that over the period, the total pension fund that are with him as at 1st December next year, no. On interest, the following year, which are 5%, but inflation is saying currently 40.4%. Now, umami 5%, next year, umami 0. The following year, umami 5%. Their funds has been affected. The value, by the time they receive their money on maturity, you know, the time value of money has affected the money, and the value would have been small. So, they have every right to demand, say, their pension funds should not be touched. Particularly, you know, when they feel say government has not come to them one-on-one to discuss these kind of issues with them before engaging in this kind of arrangement. What I say? Yeah, but the honest truth is that when we all do not play our part, sacrifice, the government has no other option than what he's doing.
But this sacrifice thing that government continues to talk about, you know, we don't see them sacrificing. We only see them, or we'll see government officials enjoying comfortability, like they are comfortable, and then you tell us to enjoy it. So, I know a lot of groups are calling for government of Ghana, ministers a call Qatar, they should come and disclose if they really went with their own money or the states sponsored them. They come and tell us you should sacrifice her. They are
not good for the optics because at this time the citizens and individual businesses have to pay.
Okay, but remember, I'm Stephen Kwabena Ato and Kasa, Stephen political activist. Stephen, good morning. What's your
good morning.
Apo what to say?
So
remember when you why?
Yeah,
debt, domestic confusing me. I buy the kumio. Domestic debt exchange. I buy the abeya. Osha. At the same, ama economy no ejina na so.
Well, me na that. Na me fight work as am pama motie for motie.
And after
yes. Question is a boy, my mind, and as a sick as a Abai is simply looking at its books. As to the impact on the ordinary man, it seems to say the Abai does not care about it. Because I don't see me require say, oh, Sika, what are Abai government bonds? Waiting, say the bonds will mature this year. Now, Abai the culture say this year the which we actually have Sikana amount. I don't see how that improves on your personal finances. So Abai is simply concerned about his or her personal interest. Look, let me tell you, there are video news items from your sister media houses. Actually, individuals the investment bank owned by the finance minister, and these are not bonds. These are people who simply invested into shares. They bought their funds, not bonds. And yet, when you get there, they tell you that the current market value of shares these are individuals. And you see, in Ghana, how many private individuals are able to buy bonds? You see, the finance minister says individual bond holders will not be affected. How many Ghanaians are able to buy bonds directly? The many of Ghanaians who to make top investment, they buy treasury bills. Look, the banks are the major institutions that are able to invest in bonds. And all these bonds are banks here to it is one investment that work or banks. That's the kind of time to government friend is saying bills so that they can get some returns and pay you. Now, the reality we are facing, and they said, you saw him, as part of a measure, said, yeah, by establishing a fund. And that fund, according to them, should be able to provide liquidity support to banks, to insurance companies, to be able to meet their obligations when they are due. What does it mean?
It means that the banks are collapsing. Is that what you're trying to say?
We were in this country when banks had a challenge. You said, and our experts catch say 9 billion that will resolve our problem. Buying ways or maybe spending 9 billion and resolve a problem, but best spending 25 billion to collapse the banks. Look, before then, the previous government equally gave support to the banks, which this government is claiming to come and do with the support of your friend is saying development partners. About ways of the with support of development partners. Under the previous administration, the government of Ghana supported these banks from our funds in Ghana. About way, when in opposition, they criticized it. And the fund they are coming to establish, what difference is it going to do different from what the previous government did? The unfortunate incident is that, and then you can say, how many local banks do we have in the system? And that is the crux of the difficulties we face today. Look, Odia, Yanfa is all top Eton, Grumha. Would you say, Lejuma Hoye? Ye do more emre dudua eteke ansana mono eni before they harvest. And even after harvesting and preparing the rice, they know say it takes a certain time before they can sell the rice. This local business is understood by local banks. Why do you expect a bank like Barclays Bank and the ABSA and a Standard Chartered Bank and a Stanbic Bank to understand this business? So these are the banks that understand people's business. Oh, you say, within the next 6-7 months, because we are not expecting the payment. But after 3-4 months after the 7-month grace period, the person will settle all the debt. Meanwhile, foreign bank within the certain by the close of the month you must start payment. Otherwise, you are defaulting. We are buying. That's a now, we want to for local businesses that the best thing you do is to strengthen your local bank so that they can fund local domestic businesses. But all of them.
So much judge will say, "About so say, no what channel, no what channel."
I'm talking about how we came to this time. What collapse banks and then as a liquidity situation, the reason for which money cannot even circulate among the market women in our villages and in our towns and markets is because we collapse domestic banks. None of them exist. Why? Ghana Commercial Bank, you expect them to go and do the work of savings and loans? You expect them to go and do the work that GN Bank was doing? You expect them to go and do the work that Unicredit, Unibank were doing? We did not think through this. And then I was watching a video during the vetting of our finance minister. When the Honorable Suhini wanted to ask a question, he was gagged. It was as if he was going to ask a taboo. Today, those people who gagged him, they even want the finance minister out of office. So it is more like the young people in parliament were able to see through the finance minister sitting there at the time, in 2017. They saw through him. And then you've collapsed our economy. You are even allocating another 80 million cedis to build a cathedral. Are we angry enough? You see, you get emotional sometimes wanting to discuss some of these things. But the issue is that they don't even regard that the Ghanaian people are going through difficulties. You are saying, say, Bomsey, by close of this year, you can't pay a penny. Next year, you are paying 5%. And you are now discounting these bonds, and you are intending to pay these bonds and finish paying in 2037. What will the finance minister do? 2037. Look, when the previous government borrowed $1 billion from the Chinese Development Bank, they established a portable gas processing plant. That plant has been paying and has been helping us to settle debt Since it was completed, as we speak, on yearly basis, it saves out about $300 million of import of gas. And then Minister said, can you point to any single thing the finance minister Bettina could just want borrow scam over 400 billion cedis? Project Ben on the year, or do you say in 2037, never to me, and that's a year to your bond here or this or cancer, but you are 2037. He's being reckless. And Ghanaians must get angry. You see, because you don't borrow, consume, and you are waiting for a certain government in 2037 to come and find money and pay. They should find the money from where? Recently, there's an audio. The director in charge of debt and financing at the Ministry of Finance, finance minister, he was seated there. Or catch and said, look, this 55% target of debt restructuring I won't target it. We will not even reach it in 20 years. He told him in the face, said, the only thing we can do in the next 10 years is simply to bring it down to 90%. Today, as we speak, our debt to GDP is about 105%. What kind of human beings are this? You come and make an economy that was surviving. Look, Lilia, have you heard the city called Wuhan? Wuhan city in the Hubei province of China. So coronavirus, germinated fear. They lost 4,600 lives in that city. That city is stronger than the Ghanaian economy today. And yet, we always blame COVID. How many people died here? How many people suffered from COVID in Ghana? The town, the city, where COVID emanated from is stronger than the Ghanaian economy. What is this? He should not lose West. And the audacity for him to continue to hold office as the finance minister. That is what is even more annoying.
Kwabena, still Kwabena too. The culture we see here. It's about your about to be rich and come on. You who's watching to be what another slide. Okay, I'm still coming out to the political analyst. So he is saying, I don't know, he doesn't agree with you, the experts. Moka say, treasure bill are exempted. You will say treasure bill na yetono. And who's Canada? Banks and Sado Koto bond
No, the treasury bills are different from bonds. On no part say, si kana ye place your friend is saying. Say banks no, individuals. I got treasury bills. What's the name? Financial banks name we also through the banks we buy treasury bills. But bank also do investment on their own.
Okay.
This kind of equal to bonds.
Okay, so that's when the bank does auto shares.
Sorry,
auto shares are
like we are helping you to buy government bonds.
Okay,
and we are individual investment that banks need a year on their own.
Okay,
and what they do is I'm getting now. Yeah. But what they do is that they use the deposits now at the year start placement because it's a kind of they will not keep it there.
Okay,
they pay some small interest when you are keeping savings with them. Or when it's a current account, they know that all deposits and at once they overdraw their balances. I get the point. So what is the deposit? Understand it right and right now.
But Mamu Kwabano Subima, Ghana registered nurses, Midwives Association, Greater Accra Regional Secretary, Solomon Ajao, and they have questioned government decision to use the pension fund as part of a more debt exchange program. Solomon, what's in good morning. I would say.
Good morning,
why are you so angry with government?
Because Akunya was in a mission at the airport and it's Ghana Racing Midwife Association, yes, as in Chawa, and one say, your mind will move anyway. We know, say, we have snakes that were paying pension and all those things, and realize it wasn't enough. So they brought in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So individuals and groups get to embark on these plans for their retirement. And we currently, as we speak, Ghana Racing we have 101,000 contributors. And our fund that we have contributed, our finance minister with it help us with whatever is being pushed out there. it's been encouraged after, you see, the agreement between governments was after 10 years, you can take some part of your money or your money is matured for usage. And this plan happened 2012, and we are in 2022. Even the money at the pension, we can't even touch it. And then I say, yes, I'm not buying fan in some kind of sicker.
But so was when Ubeja to send Yama Ayading, Ghana ha. I buy a bottom of money and say, Obeto to Yama, it is a moose kaka crab with the buy, no that to Yama Nadachi. Economy Nigeria, when Yamusika Baka, and Kasanka Yasempa. There's a buy say, Ubia Embra on board, na Yambua by Jumano Koso.
No. What we are that one there, what we are saying that the pensioners and our pensioners should not be made to suffer the consequences of government physical indiscipline. We all know some of these things that never do a way policy analysts and all those things issue are buying for. But then it's here. Abai went ahead with their policies and their programs, and now the pensioners of their saving the sicker. Kafa rather call Jina Homea on the Juma of Arageno, in the Sika of the Beshan, was a man in Sanka. No, that is what we are saying. In as much as we want to contribute to build our economy, we don't want our pensioners to suffer. Already we are taking low salaries already. And as a Nipana Abwana who are saving money towards this thing now, we are saying that tier 2, tier 3 funds for debt exchange. We are not going to get to that. No, that one there, we cannot and will not accept it.
I buy any atuja when you have a candidate then I'm obey a phone.
Yeah, because the tier 3 funds cannot be accessed unless between 5 to 15 years. And we are saying that it's unacceptable. Because by the National Pension Regulatory Authority regulation, all pension schemes have most of their assets with government of Ghana securities. So trustees of these pension schemes were bound by the regulation in the asset allocation policy by EPRA, National Pension Regulatory Authority. It is just untenable for the poor worker to suffer a proposed new bond issuance by government because of government debt exchange. No, it is just not fair for our members. And we are saying over 120,000 necessary for more Ghana and over 100,000 or more members, we cannot suffer what government in the fiscal indiscipline has brought the whole country to.
It may be say, I buy I didn't say I buy in Timwa, then I'm by a phone.
Oh, there they do that I buy through the finance minister, and anyway, Omar Bekata, we are law-abiding citizens, and we want the government to, we'll do whatever we have to do to keep the economy running, and not to suffer these consequences. That one they know, because government must pay for their own fiscal discipline, and we cannot be pushed through to at a necessary midwife as small major salaries now you're taking in and this will bind the entire kind of pension. It's kind of more endorsed that. That's when you have the panel for pension, so I would think you cannot avoid what the packaging so over on time change. No, it can be. And when we get there, we'll cross it. That one I can assure you. I can assure you that the Ghana Resident and midwife will do whatever it takes to protect the interests of our members.
Okay, Solomon, early days yet, let's see what happens in the coming days. Now, you're actually in store. Okay, Solomon Jawuna, I'm a Greater Accra Regional Secretary. Emma, Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. I remember Martin in Champion now. Yeah, for training baby. So, how is the outlook for us in 2023?
2023, no. I budget now are being presented. It will be a lot. We should expect a lot of challenges in the year 2023 because individuals, businesses, and corporate institutions, will have to suffer under harsh VAT increase. And VAT is a consumption tax. Consumption tax, inflationary, leading into general increases in price of goods and services. I get to the point because currently the VAT is 19.25%, but the introduction of an additional 2.5%, and they call effectively about 21.9%. So goods prices will increase. Secondly, abanye benchmark value if you hold, meaning import duties ebe cost. Now there's a freeze on employment in the public sector. Abanye based on the arrangement with IMF, they are not supposed to employ into the public sector again. That means that the private sector must assume this teeming unemployment youth now. In the system already. The question is, does the private sector have that capacity to assume the kind of level of unemployment now in the youth? You and I know that is not possible, because when you go, our colleagues are always calling and saying, people finish first degree, they cannot get job. So the unemployment situation will be dire next year. Until the coming into force of the IMF, between the first quarter, the city will continue to depreciate unless the $1 billion comes in. So generally, the economy in the first half will be very difficult.
Sure.
That is why government this is to reduce the interest payment and the expenditure. So let's see, because they themselves from budget Assembly Finance Minister and they'll say the economy will rebound in 2037. That's 15 years from now. Look at the whole we are in. It's a very difficult situation. Sometimes I become emotional about it. That just within a space of 6 years, these are the kind of things we are discussing. Yesterday, when the finance minister was speaking, I was feeling the same as a Ghanaian.
I was shaking. I could feel the shake in my knees. Yeah. I was just sitting down, shaking.
I felt ashamed that
15 years
in the history of Africa, we as a Ghana that is blessed with resources, gold, diamond, we are blessed more than many of the African countries across, but they are not going to do the things we are going to do now. So it is about leadership, that we don't have people who demonstrate love for their people, taking decisions that are in a long-term prosperity of their people, but ones that are benefiting them alone. Those are the things that lead to the kind of situation I face here. Or be born amateur, say unisika obitia. This is extending 15 years. They are not good things. They don't send good signals to you, and they don't give you the confidence as a Ghanaian. Say you can believe in as a national of Ghana. But said everything is working well for you, and you believe that as a country of Ghana, we are the blaster of Africa, and we should be able to do things that
someone sent a message or say all these things that governments I say we are just coming from a civil war, and we are trying to keep our economy in shape. Because we were just talking about we having the timber, the gold,
the diamond.
So he also doesn't see the reason why we should go this.
It's gross mismanagement. It's gross mismanagement. Decisions that are economic growth and transformation behind. But when we are testing you and telling you, say, these are not programs what on mine failure. Remember the last time the president spoke to the nation, said that they are on top of issues. We continue on a BBC Nigerian guy having interview. We were sounding a warning that the economy is not running well, or there was a debt service suspension initiative by World Bank that the government of Ghana was supposed to subscribe to, so that we can get relief in terms of interest payment.
What can I say? You have experts are warning him, also experts.
Yeah, they were experts. So you were the warning signs were all there, but the government was insisting and was not one that was listening to the kind of expert opinions people were giving them that would lead to the transformations that we want. Otherwise, we wouldn't have these situations that people's bonds must be exchanged for ones that will with long maturities and one that will not have interest in the first year graduating to 5% to 10%. It's a very difficult situation now. The government has now transferred all the mismanagement to individuals that must pay by losing their investments, and citizens that must pay more taxes for the mismanagement. You're going to pay 2.5% on tax. With the E-levy you have to pay, COVID levy you have to pay, all manner of taxes. Benchmark values have been removed. Import duties are going to go high. Look at the kind of economic quagmire we are finding ourselves because of the gross mismanagement that has happened over the period. See, I sometimes want to be very objective, but we can also have to speak that if you mismanage the economy and bring the economy to its knees, what pains me is to even attribute the current economic situation to Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19. That is what even is the kind of dishonesty that this government must even stop at once. I'm even moving too political, but it's because I'm becoming so emotional about
yes,
the kind of
but
perception.
The point is, if you become emotional, no, you have to become emotional about
the thing
as a Ghanaian.
You don't attribute.
The point is that
you don't attribute the failure.
You are Ghanaian first before you come. You join a political party. Yes,
you know, I am an intellectual.
Sure.
Provide my expert opinions on national issues. I bet our government will also take issues from it. They will make meaningful policies. Will contribute to that. So when the very difficult part here, attributing our failure to Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19, because I'm going to sound this again. Said even without the emergence of Russia-Ukraine war, no, our debt was still unsustainable. Because can anybody tell us, in the year 2022, no, Busiaba and a boy too much in the external capital market, your debts are becoming unsustainable. Russia-Ukraine war, then the buy, Busiaba and the buy. What loan did Russia-Ukraine war brought? Our debt situation are becoming unsustainable even before the end of the year. Secondly, when were we blacklisted on the international capital market? We were blacklisted in the international capital market in November. Russia and Ukraine was in February. So it means that we already have a challenge in our balance of payments in the year 2022 by the fact that we have been blacklisted on the international capital market. Are you getting the point? Because dollar and backroom, inflation at once. So let's stop this discussion about Russia and Ukraine war. I agree. What it did was that commodity prices echoes. We cannot say that Russia and Ukraine did not have any impact, but it will not even amount to 20% of the challenges that we have as a nation.
It shouldn't be a core reason for
COVID-19. Where didn't we get funds from to support our activities during the COVID-19 during a period?
So someone was making having a discussion with me, and the person was telling me that if the economy was strong, the money that we used in managing the COVID were monies that we didn't pick from.
They were not taxes,
they were money that we received from donors.
Yes, and other development partners.
And IMF and the World Bank. So if says Karimina, the managing COVID, we shouldn't still suffer because already we didn't touch.
Yes, because we didn't go and take taxes again to do that. Yes. We had money, excess money, additional money is coming in for us to do those kind of expenditure during the COVID time. So how did COVID exacerbate your problem now? Because you have funds coming in to solve the problem.
Sure.
So, and these funds are concessionary. The terms of arrangement here, even long-term money, which are in the future, because the World Bank and the IMF and our development partners understands that what we are in now is a difficult situation. Are you getting the point?
Sure.
So to attribute our failure to COVID and Russia is a deception. It's a dishonesty. What has caused us this difficulty we face as a nation is a reckless borrowing and a reckless expenditure trajectory we started from the year 2017 to date. That is what has caused the nation aground, such that the poor credit ratings that has engulfed this economy over the period, because all rating organizations knew we were not managing the economy well. They knew our debts were not sustainable. They knew we didn't have the capacity to pay our debt obligations as and when they fall due, because we have borrowed and used them in consumption. You look at the capital expenditure to revenue ratio now. We spend little on capital expenditure. How do you expect the economy to expand? How do you expect the economy to grow? When you are levying more taxes on the individuals and the private sector, what congenial business environment have you provided for the business environment to thrive and lead to the kind of growth and employment and income that we need as an economy?
Okay, Mr. Martin Ohinenima say he's really sounding emotional here, and that is how it is when God has blessed a country with so much and so many resources, and then we are managing our economy as if say we are returning from a civil war. Rwanda war for so many years. We didn't take them these tougher decisions for them to recover. My main messages in the Abaname show in Brevi. Kofi Adenta news sites. Also, it is good that the middle class that work to get Nanado into government are the ones going to pay to clean his mess. Those who have small money to invest in financial markets are going to pay for Nanado's mess. TUC should make sure that ordinary workers' pension are protected from this government. And thank you for your message. Eric Asamoah, a year, don't go there. Don't touch people hard-earned money. Reduce your expenditure and reduce corruption. Introduce toll booths. Leave the banking sector alone. It has suffered too much. Let me get more of the messages. Okay. Katans, I can't read this message. But anyway, thank you for your message. Let me read more of the messages. Okay. Okay. From Kwablavi of Pokwase, Benghazi, Communication Minister Honorable Mrs. Esla Owusu Ekufu should respect Ghanaians. She shouldn't forget that Ghanaians gave NPP government power and they are not going to be in power forever. There are so many problems surrounding the registration of SIM cards, but the minister is pretending not to be aware and blocking people's SIM cards. Why should it be so? We shall vote them out in the next election year. Greetings to Dr. Peter Boamotukono, incoming NDC General Secretary from Mystic Wonder Avuko inside in Sawoma Doji. It is undeniable fact and undoubtedly clear that the economy is in intensive care unit. Cost of living is unbearable. The managers of the economy are known quantities, and the clueless, corrupt Dr. Bawumia-led government has failed Ghanaians woefully, and the center cannot hold. My regards to Chairman Ofosuampo for the next chairman, Dr. Peter Otukono as General Secretary, and Chief Baini as National Organizer. Thank you for your messages too. I'm interested to me alpha. Two of the messages, and then we call it a day here on the Active Morning Show. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the messages no ABC ha and the adopi. So American kind no meda Martin Ohini mase say obeka yansa or your financial chartered economists and then chartered accountants. So say the bad economy ni dia to abe pa enye ya no mfu idi. Okay, meda production team nyina say me producer Isuta no so na meda Moses Dawusu as say obo amajwede no koso abaiwa street boy. Circle boy. I don't know why I add street boy to your name. Street boy in the count. Street boy in the count. Fabia and then so Owaha or Bamajmano Aquaso. Johnson Joala Porter and it will be Imano Kwame Bafo. And also with the research work, you know. Meda will be as say or come home I show no. And Brother Kumo Admocha, EBC, as I always say, remember not to do what you will not like your neighbor to find out. My name is Jenny Boatine J. Macau, stay active and see beyond.